Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're shining the spotlight on Remielle. This video will cover the basics of Remielle's main mechanics, how you can build her, and some themes you can go into. This guide is made in collaboration with Hoyoverse and uses footage from the creator beta server. There are no sound effects and things are subject to change. Thank you Hoyoverse for the opportunity. Remielle, aka Ramielle, aka Lieutenant Colonel Dan of the Guard of Staves, is one of the original 7 Void Hunters. Remielle is the first S-rank Lumiflux Anomaly Agent from the Covenant of Dayat. Lumiflux is not a variant, it is a completely new attribute just like Wind. The Lumiflux attribute introduces brand new mechanics, starting with the fact that Lumiflux has no anomaly buildup gauge. That means the Lumiflux Anomaly Agent will not be triggering anomalies. Now despite that, Remielle will be ZZZ's first proper foray into triple anomaly teams. Remielle is going to provide team buffs through off-field support, and you literally cannot switch her in normally until you meet certain conditions. When she's ready, Remielle will quite literally steal the show with a barrage of luminizing attacks, accompanied by some incredible animations. Remielle is going to be an amazing damage dealer and support for anomaly team comps. Remielle's kit is a bit daunting to digest, but her actual gameplay loop is fairly simple, so I'd like to lay it out first, then we'll show our work on how we got there. Remielle starts with her Hold EX special, and that triggers a quick assist before she goes into an off-field state. Remielle will buff her team, and she wants them to trigger 3 Refringe anomalies for her. After our 3 anomaly procs, you want to swap to Remielle to trigger her Assist entry attack. This will cause 3 instances of Luminize anomaly damage. After this, we use Remielle's ultimate for another 3 Luminize procs. Last, you use her Hold basic attack for a 3rd set of Luminize damage. From here, we just repeat from the beginning. To understand what is happening, we need to start with the new Lumiflux attribute. Lumiflux agents undergo attribute flux, which means their direct damage gets counted as attribute damage of the next agent in the team order. This means Remielle shouldn't have any bad matchups and team order will matter. Next, unlike the 6 other attributes, Lumiflux does not have an anomaly gauge, and as such there is no Lumiflux anomaly. Instead, Lumiflux agents will inflict Lumiflux Buildup. The circular gauge will be split into 4 sections for up to 4 Lumiflux Buildup on a foe. To utilize the Lumiflux Buildup, you need to trigger an anomaly with another ally. Doing so will cause the anomaly to become Refringed, and that consumes 1 Lumiflux. Refringe is not like Disorder, Vortex, or even a Bloom. Refringe just buffs the anomaly's damage based on the Lumiflux agent's Refringe coefficient. Essentially, Refringe is just another damage modifier you tack onto the anomaly damage formula. It stacks multiplicatively with % damage and % anomaly damage buffs. Generally, that's a good thing. From her core passive, Remielle's Refringe coefficient will be equal to 0.2% of her anomaly proficiency. If she has 3 anomaly agents in the squad, then you add another plus 10% to the multiplier. As an example, if Remielle can hit 500 AP, then 0.2% of that is just 0.1 or 10%. If you run a triple anomaly team as recommended, then you add another plus 10%. This means Remielle's Refringe coefficient is 20% if she has 500 AP in a triple anomaly team. Despite not triggering anomalies herself, Remielle still wants to build AP. She will use it for different types of scaling, just like this. Remielle's unique resource bar on her UI is Floating Radiance. She enters battle with the max 120 points. Remielle will gain Floating Radiance with certain attacks. Now Remielle has a fairly set in stone game plan, and it all begins with her EX special. When entering battle, Remielle will gain 60 energy, which is also the cost of her EX special. You tap the special button to launch an attack, and Remielle will apply 2 Lumiflux Buildup on the enemy. With a full Floating Radiance bar, Remielle can instead hold her EX special. After the attack, she will enter Stance Shift. While Remielle is busy hitting her pose, she will trigger a forward quick assist. When you swap out, Remielle will enter her off-field phase flow state. During this time, Remielle will activate an 18% damage buff for her entire team for 60 seconds. She will also automatically attack enemies. These attacks inflict 0, 1, or 2 Lumiflux Buildup. As far as I can tell, she does a random attack without repeating the previous one, and over the entire duration, she will inflict about 7 or 8 Lumiflux Buildup on average. Generally speaking, you're not going to have to worry about what Remielle is doing from off-field. Unless you have some insane anomaly buildup, most teams shouldn't run out of Lumiflux to cause Refringe with. Next, let's cover Remielle's additional ability because it requires the phase flow state to be active. Remielle wants anomaly agents or agents from her faction. Well, hopefully the Covenant members are also anomaly because Remielle grants a team attack buff based on the number of anomaly agents. With a full triple anomaly team, Remielle grants an attack buff equal to 40% of her initial attack stat. she can grant a max of 1600 attack, which is pretty insane. However, you need to have a just as insane 4000 initial attack to max out the buff. For another effect, while in the phase flow state, Remielle's days increases by the number of anomaly agents as well. The triple anomaly team will increase her off-field days by 35%. Remielle has one more support effect to give to her team. When inflicting Lumiflux Buildup, Remielle also applies Prismatic. Attacks against Prismatic foes will get 15% increase in anomaly buildup rate. Prismatic will last for as long as a foe has Lumiflux Buildup. If they run out, then the anomaly buildup rate buff will linger for 8 seconds after. So let's review Remielle's support capabilities. Her Lumiflux Buildup will cause ally anomaly triggers to become refringed, which just increases their damage. Remielle also applies Prismatic to help trigger anomalies faster. Now Remielle grants a general 18% damage buff when entering her off-field phase flow state. For the entire fight, Remielle grants a team attack buff based on her own initial attack. With 3 anomaly agents, she can grant up to a max of 1600 attack. Last, Remielle's off-field attacks will inflict Lumiflux Buildup, plus their days will be increased by 35% in the triple anomaly team. So far, Remielle sounds more like a support, such as Yuzuha. You got attack buffs, anomaly damage / general damage buffs, and she helps allies trigger anomalies faster too. Lumiflux doesn't even inflict anomalies itself, so why is Remielle classified as an anomaly agent? Let's answer that question next. To actually deal damage, Remielle needs to exit the phase flow state. Well, that's going to be an issue because while in phase flow state, Remielle cannot be swapped back in normally. Similar to Astra, Remielle will effectively be out of the fight. This means your team order is going to change, so you can only swap between your other 2 agents. Remielle cannot be used for her perfect assist, nor can you quick assist her in. Even more extreme than Astra, Remielle is literally locked out of swapping back in. There are 3 ways to bring Remielle back. 1. Phase flow state consumes floating radiance, and when Remielle runs out, she will exit the state. It doesn't say exactly, but I timed it to last for about 45 seconds. 2. You can exit phase flow state early if you start a chain attack prompt and pick Remielle. The third method is the preferred method. While Remielle inflicts Lumiflux Buildup, she wants her other anomaly allies to be triggering their refringed anomalies. After you trigger 3 refringed anomalies, Remielle will now be able to swap back into the fight. Remielle's resource bar will light up its wings to signal that she can now re-enter. As you trigger those 3 refringed anomalies, Remielle will also be gaining Voidflare, which are represented by the 3 dots on her UI. Voidflare is a recording of the anomaly effect strength of your refringed anomaly applier. To simplify that, Voidflare is a recording of all the anomaly applier's stats. Essentially, all the things that determine how much damage your anomaly is going to deal, and Voidflare also includes the refringe coefficient at the time. Remielle will use Voidflare as ammo to deal damage. By triggering 3 refringed anomalies, you store 3 Voidflare. Now how do we fire this Void Hunter cannon? After you get 3 Voidflare, Remielle's next normal swap in will be converted into her assist attack, Flower and Feather Dance. This move occurs on entry, so I'm going to refer to it as Remielle's assist entry. The assist entry has its own cut-in animation, and at the end of the attack, Remielle will trigger the Luminize effect with a damage multiplier of 320%. Luminize is how Remielle deals all her damage. Luminize deals 1 instance of anomaly damage based on Remielle's stored Voidflare and the skill's damage multiplier. The damage multiplier will be further increased by 0.2% of Remielle's anomaly proficiency. Since Remielle has 3 Voidflares, she triggers 3 different Luminizes. I don't want to get too tied up in how Luminize damage is calculated, but if you're curious, I will discuss it more at the end of the video. We'll go over when Remielle's stats are used, when her ally stats are used, and how that set damage multiplier is also used. To keep things real simple, if Remielle's allies trigger weak anomalies, the Luminize will deal little damage. If her allies have lots of stats and buffs to trigger strong anomalies, then Luminize will also grow in power. Remielle is going to help with this thanks to her team attack buffs and Refringe. Building AP also increases the damage multiplier directly. The assist entry is not Remielle's only Luminizing move. It also does not remove the stored Voidflare. That is important because after the assist entry, Remielle can use her actual ultimate. This move triggers Luminize with a slightly higher damage multiplier of 336%. Good things usually come in 3s, which brings us to Remielle's third Luminize move. If you hold basic attack, Remielle will trigger Luminize with a damage multiplier of 160%. Typically, you never want to do this version of the hold basic though. If you were to trigger the assist entry or a chain attack, Remielle enhances her next hold basic attack. This enhanced hold basic sends Remielle into the air for extra style points, and the final slash triggers Luminize with a damage multiplier of 320%. Both the regular and enhanced hold basic attacks are super important. After these moves, Remielle's Voidflares are consumed. In exchange though, she gets a full refill on her floating Radiance bar. The hold basic attack is going to be the end of Remielle's Luminized Barrage. This is also the end of her on-field time, since after refilling floating Radiance, she can go right back into her off-field phase flow state. At this point, we've made it back to the gameplay loop shown at the beginning. With full floating Radiance, hold EX special, then swap out to enter the phase flow state, where Remielle inflicts Lumiflux Buildup and buffs her team's damage, plus Anomaly Buildup rate. After her team triggers 3 Refringe anomalies, you swap Remielle back in to use her Assist entry attack. Follow up with the ultimate and the enhanced hold basic attack for 3 rounds of Luminize damage. The hold basic will remove all Voidflare, but refills floating Radiance, and thus we can repeat the loop. Remielle still has a few more mechanics, so let's discuss how they come up in different scenarios. In Sheer Defense or any content with smaller mobs, Remielle's team can trigger 3 Refringe anomalies extremely fast. If you try to swap Remielle back in, she will still do her Assist entry. Assuming you have no ultimate, we can just skip to the hold basic attack. You may notice though, Remielle only does her weaker, regular hold basic. The reason for this is that Remielle only enhances the hold basic if she does her Assist entry with less than 90 floating Radiance. That is the hash mark on her floating Radiance bar. Basically, if you score 3 fast anomalies, you need to wait for a bit. When floating Radiance dips under 90, the UI's wings will light up. That's your cue to swap in. For another small mechanic, after the hold basic attack, Remielle can use her regular hold special to trigger Stand Shift. You do not need to use the EX special. For 1v1 boss fight situations, we generally want to use the gameplay loop from earlier. The question becomes, how often do you want to use Remielle's Luminize combo though? Typically speaking, Remielle can fit 2 sets of Luminize per stun phase. The first round will probably not include the ultimate. The second round will include the ultimate, and we want to trigger the full Luminize combo during a stun for maximum burst damage. To do this, you need to trigger the first Luminize combo early enough so Remielle's team can re-trigger 3 more Refringe anomalies before the stun phase. For example, if the boss is around 50 to 60 days, you should be okay. If you use the Luminize combo at 70 to 80 or 90 days, well, you may not have enough time to reset. With this in mind, you're not forced to bring Remielle in immediately after triggering 3 Refringed anomalies. The phase flow state lasts for quite a while, and Remielle is going to keep topping up her Lumiflux buildup. You can just keep using your other 2 anomaly agents like normal until you reach that stun. Stun phases are super important for Remielle, and you have many ways to approach them. If you're struggling to trigger the 3 Refringed anomalies, you can use your 2 chain attacks of your other anomaly agents. If Remielle has her 3 Voidflares ready, she will replace her own chain attack with the Assist entry instead. In addition, the Assist entry will extend the stun duration by 3 seconds. Basically, Remielle is going to give herself extra time to pull off her combo. You still need to start it early enough though, or the hold basic may miss out on the stun damage multiplier. Since Remielle replaces her chain attack with her Assist entry, she has a unique double chain attack method. You get the stun and send in your agent who wants 2 chain attacks. For the second prompt, pick Remielle. When she triggers the third prompt with her Assist entry, you can still pick the first agent for a double chain attack. Hopefully that can trigger an extra anomaly, and then you can swap back to Remielle normally for her ultimate and hold basic attack to finish off the stun phase. The main takeaway from this is that you do not have to do all 3 Luminize attacks in a row. Now, for a more advanced double chain attack method, you will need the manual chain attack setting. As you get close to a stun phase, you bring Remielle in for her Assist entry at the start. You hold the special button to cancel the chain attack prompt. During this time, you can then spam the ultimate button. You're not going to be able to stop the ultimate from triggering the chain attack sequence, so you're going to send in your double chain attack agent. From here, you can cancel the second prompt and then swap back to Remielle. We can use her hold basic attack, and during the animation, hold the special button to again cancel the prompt. This time you want to keep holding though, and Remielle will cast her special or EX special. When that happens, you now want to release the button so we trigger the prompt. For another mechanic, if the special or EX special trigger a chain attack, Remielle can re-enter her phase flow state. The chain attack switch-in is replacing the stand shift portion. It's another way to get back off field, but you're not going to get the eye-catching animation. So far, we've completely skipped Remielle's actual chain attack. It does not trigger Luminize damage, so is there a reason to use it? Well, yes, but it's basically a last resort. If Remielle only has 1 or 2 Voidflare, you can use the chain attack to forcibly exit phase flow state. She can then use her ultimate and hold basic for some Luminize damage. Now, this will forgo the assist entry, which is bad, but the chain attack does enhance the next hold basic at the very least. Typically, you should not be in this situation, but it doesn't hurt to know your options. To wind down the main guide, I have a few more tidbits to share. The first is that Remielle can indeed stop enemies with her feathers like we've seen in the story. One example is the 3-second stun extension. Another is that during all of Remielle's Luminizing moves, she does completely stop the enemy from moving. Now, for a much more noticeable time-stopping effect, while off-field, Remielle will prevent your active agent from getting attacked 1 time. This effect is super cool because you can just keep attacking and Remielle is going to protect you. This is not mentioned in her kit, so as far as I can tell from testing, Remielle's protection is on a 90-second cooldown after activating. It's actually really neat to try and abuse this if you know Remielle's got your back. The last thing I want to discuss is Remielle's gameplay with different Anomaly playstyles. The main downside of Remielle's insane 3-part Luminize combo is that it takes a very long time. Each move takes roughly 2 to 3 seconds in-game, and then you have to use her EX special to swap out. Altogether, that's like 10 seconds to do her thing. First, Remielle can easily miss out on damage if you do not finish her Luminize moves during a stun, or even before the timer runs out in Deadly Assault. The wipeout screen will actually extend till the end of her enhanced hold basic attack, but I'm pretty sure the final slash does not deal damage. Second, 10 seconds is the length of a normal Anomaly. Even if Remielle swaps in immediately, it's very tough to trigger Disorder after her combos. That being said, you do not have to do all of Remielle's Luminize moves in a row. For example, after the assist entry or ultimate, you can just save the hold basic for later. If that allows you to swap to your other agents to proc Disorder, then it could be worth doing. Of course, if you have the longer lasting anomalies such as Miyabi's 20-second Frost or the new Windswept which lasts 30 seconds, then that's less of a hassle. After you get the general flow of Remielle's gameplay, I encourage you to try and experiment with different rotations. Due to the sheer number of different triple anomaly team comps, there are going to be so many ways to approach fights, especially the stun phase. For optimizing damage, you can also try to consider which Voidflares to save for Luminize. Remielle is only going to store the last 3 Voidflares, which means the last 3 Refringe anomalies are the ones that count. If your agent or gear has a stacking mechanic, then maybe you might want to trigger 4 Refringe anomalies before bringing Remielle in. In practice, Remielle is not that complicated, but under the hood there are many things going on. For those that enjoy a challenge, there are definitely ways to tweak your gameplay, and that is only going to continue to evolve as we get more new Anomaly agents. For builds, Remielle does not need any Anomaly mastery because Lumiflux has no build-up gauge. She wants to build solely initial attack and Anomaly proficiency. To max out her attack buffs, you're going to need a staggering 4,000 initial attack. Unless you get her signature, we're almost certainly running a full % attack build. Now with signature, Remielle can splurge for some extra AP. She has no caps on her AP scalings, so as much as possible is the best option. Besides stats, you're going to need to level up Remielle's skills. Her 18% team damage buff is from leveling special attack. Her 3 Luminized damage multipliers come from leveling basic attack, assist, and ultimate. Some people don't level up their Anomaly agent skills, but for Remielle, you do kind of want to get everything up besides dodge. Remielle's signature, Ode of Resurrected Wings, is quite the mouthful. Like other Void Hunter signatures, it has a higher base attack of 743 compared to other limited S ranks. It also has 36% attack as its main stat, which is higher than the standard 30% attack. Now for its passive, Ode grants 96 AP. When you trigger Refringe, the user gets 20% anomaly damage and the team gets a 30% general bonus damage buff. Basically, Remy's signature helps maximize her team buffing support. More attack, more bonus damage, and Remielle herself will get more AP with anomaly damage. For other S ranks, you can use any % attack main stat W engines, but Yanagi's Time Weaver does kinda stand out because it grants 75 AP on special or EX special casts. Remielle's off-field attacks are considered special attacks, thus she can constantly refresh that AP buff. For A ranks, usually the most common anomaly pick is Weeping Gemini. It grants initial attack and a massive stacking AP buff. Weeping Gemini only requires any anomalies to be triggered. They don't have to come from the user, which is great because Remielle literally does not trigger anomalies herself. Since it is craftable, Weeping Gemini would be my clear pick for Remielle. There are other options, but it has everything Remielle wants. The only bad part is that you may need to craft and overclock a third Weeping Gemini for your triple anomaly teams. For drive disc, things are pretty simple. For main stats, Remielle can use percent attack in partition 4, 5, and 6. If she has a percent attack W engine that lets her hit 4000 initial attack, then you could use Anomaly Proficiency in partition 4 instead. Despite just getting new drive disc sets, our OG Void Hunter demands a personalized set, and thus it's gonna happen. In version 3.1, Feathered Fate is tailored for Remielle. The 2-piece grants 30 Anomaly Proficiency. The 4-piece grants 50 AP when entering battle or when switching on-field as the active agent. For Lumiflux agents, they also get a 15% anomaly damage buff. These both last for 15 seconds, but if you're not the active agent, then the buffs persist forever. Since Remielle is not on-field for more than 15 seconds usually, she basically has full uptime on this set. Anomaly damage is also hard to find, so I would recommend farming out this new set. For accompanying 2-piece sets, you can use the 10% attack from Hormone Punk or Astral Voice if you still need to hit 4000 attack. If you're all good, you can instead use the 30 AP 2-piece sets. Now, for substats, we just want percent attack, flat attack, and AP. It's not a shoo-in, but even with Weeping Gemini, you can't hit 4000 initial attack. If you're a little short, it's fine, it's not the end of the world. For teams, Remielle kicks the door wide open for triple anomaly comps. She's a support team buffer and a damage dealer all in one. We have the classic Disorder teams and the new Vortex style teams. For now, Vortex will require Valina. From her kit, it's pretty clear the devs want you to run 3 anomaly agents, but it doesn't mean you're forbidden from only using 2. Just understand that Remielle's buffs are going to lose a lot of power. For the foreseeable future, Season 3's new Age of Anomaly is going to be run by Remielle, Valina, and literally any other anomaly agent as your last slot. Vortex teams want to trigger their one non-wind anomaly as much as possible. Valina and Remielle give max field time to your 3rd agent, and they both increase anomaly buildup. In general, Remielle's triple DPS teams will be easier to manage with any off-field anomaly agent. Besides Valina, we can also use Bernice and Vivian. Both are great at triggering their burns and corruptions from off-field. In 3.1, rerunning with Remielle is Aria. Aria is interesting because she wants stun phase time just like Remielle, so they're gonna have to figure out how to share the stage together. Aria is fine fighting on field, but her additional ability required a support or stun agent. Normally, she would lose that ability in a triple anomaly team, but the devs have considered that. In 3.1, Aria, Miyabi, and apparently Piper's additional abilities now include anomaly agents. Without this change, they would not be at full power with Remielle. Now there are no issues. If you're a newer player, anomaly teams are tough to put together because you just need to pull more anomaly agents, no way around that. Unfortunately, you can't just only use Remielle. Luckily, in version 3.1, the anniversary changes can increase your odds of putting together a team. First off, Jane is available to pick for free during this version. She's also getting her rework, which is cool. Second, you can now select the rate up A ranks on every banner. I highly recommend picking Piper as one of your rate ups. Despite being the only A rank anomaly agent, Piper is extremely serviceable and more than good enough to use. The third anniversary change is that you can customize your limited S rank 50-50 lost pool. Normally, you only had a chance for Grace. Now Yanagi can be an option, so before you start pulling, swap one of these standard agents out for Yanagi. For newer players, a team of Grace/Yanagi with Jane or Piper will work fine. You can also try Jane with Piper. If you like Remielle, be on the lookout for newer anomaly agents in the future or any reruns. Almost everyone listed here is an anomaly agent, and you can mix and match them for your triple anomaly team comps. For the one imposter on this graphic, Nangong is a stunner, but she has a very high anomaly buildup rate and can contribute okay damage. There is nothing stopping you from using Nangong with Aria, Miyabi, or whoever, but because she's not an actual anomaly agent, Remielle's team buffs take a major hit. It's a bit of a shame because these two are really fun to play together. Remielle's Luminized Damage seems to use the same attribute as its recorded Voidflare. This means she can create some triple anomaly teams of the same attribute. Typically, you want different attributes to cause disorder with, but some agents bend that rule. Alice's Polarity Assaults can cause disorder with regular Assault from Jane or Piper. Miyabi's Frost attribute can do the same with regular Shatter from Promia. Being able to capitalize on the same attribute weakness with 3 DPSs is pretty neat. In the future, be on the watch for more Polarity Anomalies or Anomaly variants. The last ally I want to mention is Yuzuha. Like with Nangong, you can use Yuzuha with Remielle, but Remielle's kit is just not being used to its full potential. Still, it's not unplayable or anything. Remielle is actually supposed to replace Yuzuha in the usual anomaly teams, but if you get both, you're now set up to run 2 separate anomaly teams with 2 great supports. Let's briefly go over Remielle's Mindscapes. For M1, upon entering battle, Remielle gains 3 special Voidflares. From what I've been told, these are based on Remielle's stats, and it allows her to use her hold basic attack immediately. Continuing, Luminize damage will ignore 50% of the foe's all attribute resistance. When she uses her Assist entry move, Remielle gains 200 decibels. Last, in the phase flow state, Remielle adds 10% anomaly damage to her team buffs. M1's fairly stacked, higher Luminize damage, some quality of life extra decibels, and an anomaly damage buff on top of Refringe and her general damage buff. Oh boy. For M2, Remielle's Refringe coefficient increases by 20%. Landing anomaly damage attacks on foes with Prismatic, or in other words with Lumiflux Buildup, will get 15% defense shred. Last, Remielle will attack faster in her phase flow state, which means more Lumiflux Buildup. M2 is just straight anomaly damage buffs for the team, and there's more Lumiflux to cause Refringe with if you do end up outpacing Remielle's attacks. For M4, Remielle's Luminize damage multipliers get an extra plus 12%. She can also refill her special Voidflares from Mindscape 1 after consuming them. This means you can do 2 hold basic attacks at the start. That effect is going to work only one time though, and you lose it if Remielle goes straight into the phase flow state. Remielle's early Mindscapes already buff her team, so M6 is the silly, fun on-field DPS Mindscape. Remielle's hold basic attacks now trigger Luminize twice. Her 4th basic will now grant 3 special Voidflare like M1. Unfortunately, these versions only deal 25% of the damage from the M1 version. Now it goes against how her kit functions, but if you want to on-field with Remielle, M6 gives her a way to generate Voidflares. If you want to invest in Remielle, her signature makes it easier to max out her attack buff. It also grants AP, anomaly damage, and another team damage buff, all good stuff. That said, M1 and M2 are really good as well. Anomaly damage buffs, defense shred, a higher Refringe coefficient, and some quality of life perks. The Void Hunters are already extremely strong agents at base. Any of these would just further sweeten the deal. For the after party section, let's go over the rest of Remielle's moves and then talk a bit more about Luminize. First off, for those not aware, Remielle's black outfit can be worn with her face mask on or off. In addition, the black outfit has a different exclusive skin effect if you own Remielle's signature. Instead of the ethereal glow, it's got a neat red glow to match the outfit. Remielle has a 4-part basic attack string. Doing the full combo grants 60 floating radiance, and the 4th basic inflicts 1 Lumiflux Buildup. The only time you should ever use this move is if Remielle enters phase flow state and you somehow didn't store any Void Flares. Now with 0 Void Flares, the hold basic also becomes a spinning slash. This grants 30 floating radiance. Remielle has a few unique dodge animations that you'll probably never need. If you hold the dodge button, Remielle will also start flying with her wings. Remielle's dash attack is a wing slash that can lead into her 2nd basic attack. Remielle's dodge counter is a simple quick slash. The same goes for the quick assist if you somehow manage to trigger it. Just to show off the regular special properly, Remielle fires a laser blast that is also a heavy attack. As a reminder, if you trigger a chain attack with this move, Remielle will re-enter phase flow state, assuming you got full floating radiance. You actually don't even need to do the chain attack. Canceling the prompt also sends her off field. During stance shift, if you're too distracted, Remielle will eventually do a downward slash. Besides wasting time, you can just hold special to reactivate stance shift as much as you want. Remielle has the regular defensive assist that costs 2 assist points versus big boss attacks. Remielle doesn't really have strong grouping capabilities. Her big circular off-field attack kinda brings small mobs in, but nothing crazy. Not a big deal because one of the Void Hunter perks is that their area effect on attacks is generally just massive. The assist entry, ultimate, and hold basic very easily cover most of the battlefield. Not only can Remielle stack up anomalies super quick on these small enemies, but she can just then annihilate them if needed. Last, let's go over how Luminize damage is calculated. For this example, let's say Remielle has 4000 attack and 500 AP. How are these stats used? The 4000 attack is solely for Remielle's 1600 team attack buff. The 500 AP has 2 uses. It is used to scale Remielle's Refringe coefficient and her Luminize damage multipliers. With 500 AP and 3 anomaly agents, the Refringe coefficient would be 20%. 500 AP would then increase the Luminize damage multipliers by 100%, aka we double them. As an example, Remielle's assist entry has a set 320% damage multiplier. With 500 AP, you times that by 2 to get a final damage multiplier of 640%. That's going to trigger 3 times with 3 Void Flares, so that should give you an idea of why Remielle can dish out some serious damage. Luminize is based on the stored Voidflare, which is a record of the stats that trigger each refringed anomaly. For this example, let's say Piper procs Assault. The resulting Voidflare is going to record Piper's attack, AP, pen ratio, and flat pen, plus any % damage boss. Voidflare also accounts for the refringe coefficient at the time. If Remielle gains more AP, like with Weeping Gemini, then later Voidflares would record a higher refringe coefficient. To bring everything together, here's a simplified look at the general damage formula when Piper triggers Assault. Voidflare is just a variable for Piper's stats at this time. You would multiply all the different modifiers by the Assault Anomaly's damage multiplier, which is 713%. This will further get boosted by any % anomaly damage boss Piper receives. Lastly, you would have to take into account the foe's defense modifiers at the time. When Remielle triggers Luminize, we still use Piper's stats, which is recorded by the Voidflare. You multiply that by the 640% Luminize damage multiplier we got earlier. Since Luminize is considered anomaly damage, you add in any % anomaly damage buffs on Remielle, not from Piper. At the end, you also take into account the foe's defense at the time. The main takeaway is that Remielle's main stats are never directly used in the formula. We are using the stats of her allies. The one buff that can affect Luminize is % anomaly damage. That is why Feathered Fate and the signature both grant it. You can also utilize defense shredding effects like from Mindscapes too. Last bit of info you should know about is that Luminize damage is anomaly damage of the matching Voidflare, but it is not considered as one of these specific attribute anomaly effects. For example, with Jane, Luminize would deal physical anomaly damage, but it is not considered assault damage. Jane only causes assault damage to crit, so therefore there are no crazy critting Luminizes. The first Void Hunter of Season 3 has quite a lot going on under the surface, but for most players, you don't need to worry about all these damage formulas and keywords. Like with a Blooms, if your team inflicts stronger anomalies, then Remielle is going to deal more damage with Luminize. She can directly assist in that matter though by providing a multitude of buffs. Remielle may be labeled as an anomaly DPS Void Hunter, but she really is our first proper support Void Hunter too, and that carries some serious weight if you're familiar with support units in Hoyo games. That being said, Remielle hits extremely hard herself. She will take up a decent amount of field time, but it's well worth the show. That's all I have for this video. Remielle has definitely showcased why she was a first generation Void Hunter, so good luck if you're going to be trying to get her. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.